suicide slot. And then they make it worse by giving you a break, and it's like, now I got to disrupt the discussion. Well, I'm Jeff Nielsen. I'm the general manager of UFC. I hate my title as CEO. That's just what they make me sign on bank documents. But I'm a farm kid from rural Wisconsin. I'm also a resident of Sibley County, live in Kelsall Township on the Rush River. So, and I think our gentleman from Central Lake is still here. I can tell you the speed, that I call that thing the circle of patience. And those of you that know me a little bit know patience isn't one of my strong suits, so that thing that spins around. My job tonight is to talk to you about Why Cooperative. And so I want to share a few stories about Why Cooperative and maybe stir a few memories about, what a cooperative is all about. And the very reason we're here, it's kind of ironic, we're in the Berdan Event Center. I recognize a lot of faces because I've been at UFC for 19 years. And so Arnie Berdan was the guy that helped start this co-op and get it on the map for about 40 years. So I'm going to just walk through a few things and hopefully stir a few more questions. That's my job. So cooperative. Sometimes we forget what a cooperative is. So I went to the dictionary, actually the internet now. So there's two ways to look at it. As an adjective, it involves mutual assistance and working towards a common goal. In a minute, I'll talk about how I got voluntold to do this job. That's a new word, voluntold. Noun, it's a farm business or other organization that is owned and run jointly by its members who share the profits or benefits. Sounds kind of like what we're trying to do here. What is a co-op? IRS describes the three characteristics of a co-op as democratic control by patrons, so one person, one vote. I think tonight we have townships and cities here coming together. That's a pretty democratic process, pretty grassroots. I think that's good. Limited returns to capital users. The users receive residual earnings rather than stockholders as a corporation. I know a little bit about that. Okay? We'll talk a little bit more about that. We equitably distribute the patronage earnings to the patrons on the basis of patronage. The co-op belongs to you. As you might guess, our cooperative, UFC, your cooperative, because many of you are owners, has changed a bit since it started in 1915. But what hasn't changed is it still belongs to you. Let me give you a couple examples. RS Fiber for Rural Residents died at the hands of the county commissioners. Now, so I don't want to offend the county commissioners. They were doing their job. They didn't have the information. They didn't feel comfortable with it. They have a lot at stake. But I was there the day at the courthouse, the Galen Courthouse decision, which, by the way, I found was on YouTube. I'm not a YouTube follower, but I guess it's on there. And they said, we're not comfortable with the risk, so it stopped there for rural residents, right? That's where it stopped. I was there. Rural citizens were disappointed. They saw an alternative solution as a group. I happened to be hanging around outside, and I think my brave board chairman left his wife here. Hi, Sue. So we got to talking, a group of us outside that room that day, and they said, Jeff, what do we do? I've helped start healthcare cooperatives, insurance cooperatives, member of a credit union. Cooperatives are a very, very unique business model. Because you decide. So the ideal purpose of a co-op is to service members cooperatively. Think threshing crews. Now we had presentations from Shannon and legal counsel, which is all very important to business today, but threshing crews, in my opinion, were first started cooperatives. Didn't have a lot of legal documents. Just was understood that if they're at your house, you had to make lunch, right? But threshing crews were cooperative. Why? Because those were big, expensive machines, new technology at the time, right? That was new stuff. I'm a member of Pioneer Power. I kind of enjoy some of that stuff. I don't think any of us want to combine that way in the future. But that was kind of the startup. Look, we've got to access this new technology. It's kind of expensive. So we join together. Maybe we can figure this out. So that's what they did. Rural electrics. Someone raised a question earlier about one of the townships. And I thought I lived in the middle of nowhere. Seems that way as I've been plowing snow forever this winter. Rural electrics. If it wasn't for rural electrics, there would have been people without power, right? And I don't want to get into any more numbers because that's not my part of the presentation, Mark. But when you look at what it costs to hook up some of these farms and residents, the cost is going to be higher in the country. That's pretty logical. It's pretty simple to figure out. But rural electric came in, rural telephones came in, and they said, you know what, we're going to take this on as a group. We will become cooperatives, and we will not discriminate. We will just take care of this and get it done because we want it to happen. That's a co-op. UFC, this is not a commercial about UFC, but since we're here, we started in 1915. A couple farmers in Lafayette area said, we got this milk to ship. This isn't working so pretty good. We're going to have to figure out something better than trying to sell it to the neighbors because you all got cows anyway, right? So they formed a creamery. That's how UFC started. Founding members wrote checks. They literally took checks out and said, we're going to start this. We got skin in the game. And that's how it started. UFC today is a conglomeration of a whole bunch of different cooperatives, but at its core, that's how it started. So tonight we're talking about a new cooperative technology. I couldn't find I'm going to go through this really quick. Concept for cooperatives is not new. On student cooperatives, most people credit the Rothschild principles as a group of weavers in England that started this. I only shared this slide. I believe, Mark, this is part of the information that will come out to folks. Because not everybody understands cooperatives. You know, I get this every once in a while. I said, UFC, they're this big thing, and what they're getting too damn big anyway. And it's still owned by the members. It's a co-op. I hope rural fiber cooperative someday encompasses the whole Midwest. It could happen if you say you want it to. Couple things. Co-ops must be voluntary and open membership. You're not here because you're being dragged here. If you want to be a part of this, you can be a part of this. You choose. That's a cooperative principle. Co-ops must be member controlled through a democratic process. You have a board of directors. Us first board of directors, I think, were kind of voluntold, drafted, or we just didn't know enough to get away. But as it moves along, you will decide who will represent you and who will set the rules. That's how cooperative works. Members must be economic participants. If you don't have skin in the game, if this doesn't matter to you, then you probably shouldn't participate. That's a cooperative principle. Autonomy and independence, this should be a source of education. Strive for cooperation on cooperatives. If we can get this started and get this right, I know, Mark, there's people all over looking at this thing, right? Not just in Minnesota. If we can make this work, can this be a model? I don't know. But there's a lot of people that have worked pretty hard for several years on this, Cindy and others, trying to figure out a way to do this. No discredit to the CenturyLinks or anybody else, okay? But if they're going to, it's pretty hard for them to justify doing this. Look at the business models. If this is going to work, it's going to have to be done cooperatively, I think. Co-op should be concerned for the community. Why not? We live here. The only boring legal slide, thanks Joel Dahlgren, just had to have one, right? Disclaimer. How is this cooperative formed? And I thought I'd throw this in there because when you get the information, we'll talk about a 308A versus a 308B cooperative. You go, what the hell is that? But in Minnesota, actually Joel and I were involved in changing this law a number of years ago, mostly Joel. This cooperative, RS Fiber Cooperative, is referred to as a 308B. Most cooperatives, such as UFC and Indian, are cooperatives are 308A. Very simply put, 308A, you basically became a member because you did business there. You didn't necessarily put skin in the game. You might have had some common stock early on, but it's basically, that's how you become. If you do business at any co-op, whether it be UFC or others, you don't write checks today. You start doing business and you become a member, and if you happen to be a farmer and do enough business there, you get to vote. Simple. Hard to bring in outside capital. The reason we formed this as a 308B is we knew, you heard Shannon's presentation, you're going to need to bring in some outside capital to get this started. A 308B legal entity allows you to take in outside capital without giving up the cooperative structure of doing business. There, how to do, council? Pretty close. So the members still control it. The members still decide. The members still make all the decisions, but you can bring in outside investors. In this case, you can bond and things like that. There's the legal disclaimer. I'm going to end with this. A lot of discussion tonight about, what about this? What about the tax levy and skin in the game? All that's true. You're going to decide. You're going to put skin in the game. There's a lot of doubt of what this could do. I know a little bit about that. Let's see. You guys build that feed mill, that's going to break the co-op. That'll never work. You guys build that fertilizer plant, that will sure as hell break the co-op. That'll never work. Now if you built this grain terminal, they brought in ADM, that'll never work. Oh, great, now they bought out ADM, that's certainly not going to work. I answer this every day. I make light of it, and this is not about UFC, but it's about cooperatives, and it's about individuals. Okay? Oh, by the way, I'm gonna put Ruth on the spot. She just run the door. Equity checks, we're gonna send out another, what, $700,000 in equity checks. Okay? It can work. It's not about me, it's not about our board of directors, nor is it any more about the RS Fiber board of directors. You decide if you want this to work or not. If you get, Mark said 55%, what if you get 80? How many of you want to be without electricity? Simply put, I got involved that day at Gaylord because they said, we still want this. I'm not angry at the commissioners, nor said it shouldn't just be. They had a tough decision to make. They made the best decision they could. But if you decide you want this, this is America, you can do this. God, I sound like a preacher, don't I? Put the right one on. I'm going to end with this. Never doubt that a group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Yeah, there's going to be risk. Okay? If you want this, you can do this. Accept the risk. It could fail. There's some of them have failed. I don't know, and so I'm going to really put myself in a position here. I'm not aware of anywhere that I know of, Mark, someone help me out. This has never been done as a cooperative, correct?
No, there are lots of fiber cooperatives. There's just never one that's been a public-private partnership like this between city and rural.
Thanks for the clarification. And why are we doing this between city and rural? Now, we could get into a debate about that. I don't know if the cities are here to support the rural areas or the rural areas to support the cities, but as I drive through all these towns, I think agriculture and the rural folks have a pretty big part of making sure our smaller communities survive. In fact, it's kind of what we're here for. So, that's cooperative. I think it can work. I could talk for a long time. Those of you know me know that's true. Well, our employees here own our own health insurance cooperative. I wish that guy in Washington would call us because we haven't had an insurance premium increase for 6 years. 6 years we haven't had an insurance premium increase. Now, it can work because that small group of citizens said, we're going to make some changes. I'm not the poster child for that. Probably should get on the treadmill more. But my point is, you can make a difference. That's what you're facing tonight. If you get the take rates, if you fill out the cards, this can and will work. It's really up to you. That's why it's a co-op. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Our final speaker this evening is Mark Brandt, chairman of the RS Fiber Cooperative. Mark?